Hi, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is January 24th. I am going to do this video. I'm going to do two today. This one is going to be on Canadian politics and the Usmca. Now, I don't know if it's just me or if it's everybody, but I literally cannot say that Usmca without seeing the village people dancing in my head. So that's what entertains me. Okay, so the USMCA has been ratified, or whatever the word is, approved in the United States. As far as I understand it, Mexico has also signed on to that. So it just needs to get ratified with the Canadian government. And I want to take a look at that because Trudeau is getting a little bit of opposition. The NDP and the Bloc are, saying that this thing really actually needs to be looked at more closely. They're not just going to rubber stamp it. And, and the Conservatives, they also kind of are on board with that. So Trudeau needs to get at least one of the parties. He needs to get somebody to side with him so that he then is functioning with a majority so he can get this thing done. So, but the parties that need to join him, one or the other, are putting up a little bit of resistance. So I just want to check into that and see what that's looking like. And so here we go. Take a quick look at Canadian politics. Come on down, I have a question. Okay, so the Canadian politics. Trudeau. USMCA. Canadian politics trade agreement, Canadian politics trade agreement, Canadian politics trade agreement, and of course I want to zero in on anything else that is of significant importance here in Canada. Okay. So there are a couple of things in the agreement that Canadians are concerned about. I think some of it has to do with labor. Some of it may have to do with, frankly, things that are more beneficial to the United States than here in Canada. So it is right. It is correct. That is why we have the government we have, so that they slow down the process and take a look. If we haven't learned anything from the tribalism that has gone on in the United States, then we haven't been paying attention. The whole idea of a functioning government is that the two sides work together and that there's compromises and that people come together to hammer out the best for the country, not the best for a party or that party or this party, just overall what is going to be beneficial for the country. So the promise, this thing is going to go through. At some point it's going to get ratified. I would not be surprised if there isn't some more pushback from the opposition parties here in Canada. There may even be a thing or two that they're going to want, if not tweaked or adjusted, at the very least, they're definitely going to want it clearly understood by, the people of Canada, the businesses of Canada, small and big, because like any other political group, they talk about what is beneficial and what makes people look good and what's going to make people happy, and they sort of gloss over any sticking points or any drawbacks. So That's kind of the process that is going on here. And frankly, when you have a minority government, as Trudeau does, it's a good thing. It really is an important thing that these parties start working together and functioning together. The energy of, if you're not me, if you're not what I am, if you're not a liberal, well, I have to hate you. And if you're not a conservative, well, you're trash. This is ridiculous. Like, we have to come together as a country. It's one of the things that makes us strong. And we can't just push that to the side because something's going on that maybe our party didn't come up with, or that maybe another party is opposing or questioning. That's just not how, that's not the energy we want to carry forward with this. So again, there is, some stuff going on here where there's evaluation going on, there's assessment going on, people are looking things over carefully. That is as it should be, okay? Ultimately, this thing is going to go ahead, and there will be a new USMCA agreement. And ultimately, if this is done well, it should not, hopefully, create friction where there really, really does not need to be friction within the parties. So there is going to be some defensiveness on the part of the Liberals, and there's even going to be some panic. Not so much the Liberal Party, but the Liberal supporters. And again, relax, calm down. It's going to be okay. Part of what you have to understand is that behind the scenes, these parties are not arch enemies. They're really not. They understand when they have to work together for the common good, and they understand when they really should dig in their heels and push back. So I suspect that part of what is going on behind the scenes is that maybe there are things in that agreement that even Trudeau perhaps isn't thrilled with and doesn't like. Well, now he is not going to push back forcefully against Trump because, Trump doesn't appear to be functioning from particularly stable ground these days, so you're not going to rock his boat. So maybe what has happened is the other parties are saying, okay, we're going to take up some resistance. And if nothing else is accomplished, but pushing Trump and letting him know that he cannot bully and manipulate Canada, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. So don't fall into the trap of thinking that what you see on TV or what is reported is all there is to see. There is so much more to see. And no party wants to be responsible for completely bringing this down. But what they do want to do is ensure that anything that is really not in Canada's best interest be looked at carefully and closely. After all, we are our own country, and it is not our job or function to pacify Mr. Trump. So I think that's kind of what's going on. I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than you realize. So there's definitely some things that are going to be looked at. There's definitely going to be some pushback. And again, I am not at all convinced that that is a bad thing. I'm really, really not, because ultimately we're going to end up in the best possible place that we can end up in as a country within a trade negotiation or a trade agreement. Nobody ever gets everything they want. It's just a matter of trying to get the stuff that is most important to you. So for those of you who follow tarot, you're seeing the Tower and the Devil showing up kind of really almost back to back. So this is interesting, right? So this devil literally is representing the United States, Canada, Mexico. Okay, so this is actually representing the pact. And the tower is showing that it was time for the old one to be replaced and it was time for a new one to come along. So any resistance to the new one, again, is not helpful and it's not particularly productive. So let's just understand that, again, as things evolve and move forward, things have to be tweaked and changed, because where we were as a country, in fact, where all three countries were years ago when that trade agreement was when NAFTA was originally set in place, I'm sorry, that was like a really long time ago. I don't have the exact date, but I want to say it was somewhere in the 80s. Well, we are now in the 2020s, okay? Things have changed. Countries have evolved. Standards have changed. So it was time for it to be reevaluated and balanced out again. And yep, there's some squabbling and some pushback, but ultimately it really is going to end up being a benefit for all countries involved. To some, I mean, no one's ever going to be completely happy. I mean, that's just the nature of the world. But I think by and large, you're going to see that ultimately it'll come together, and ultimately it will be relatively well received. It is important, though, and necessary that a minority government stops and listens to what the other parties have to say, because you're not going to get anywhere if you don't. And, certainly at this point in time, given what's going on around the world, you know what? It's not a bad thing. And we should kind of be proud about the fact that our political system right now is in a place where it really is pushing back against tribalism. It is pushing back against the brute force of one party having all the control and nobody else having any say. That is not the way to run a country. That is not the way Canada does things. And so, let's stay calm and not panic as this thing is being sorted out and negotiated, because frankly, this too shall pass. Okay? Now, there is one more thing I want to take a look at quickly. So, Adam Scheer has announced his resignation from the Conservative leadership position. So there have been a couple of names that went out. There were some people who were thinking about it very carefully. And right now, it looks, as of right now anyways, it definitely looks that the strongest contender for that position is going to be Peter MacKay. He, if I'm not mistaken, is out of Newfoundland. He was an important player with the Harper government. And overall, I think he was well respected and well received. He has an absolutely stunning wife. I don't know how long ago it was, but for sure 10 years that he got married. His wife is just beautiful. I understand they have kids. I do not know what the kids look like. I don't know how many they are. But like I said, he doesn't carry a lot of, sort of baggage. So let's take a look at the Conservative leadership race. MacKay Conservatives leadership. MacKay Conservatives leadership. MacKay Conservatives leadership. Let's just see what's going to go on there. So, the first thing that the Conservatives figured out when they lost the last election was that when you swing too hard right, you get rejected. Andrew Scheer had the ability, I guess, to create controversy where there simply is no need for there to be controversy. He was doing a Trump-style political bid, and frankly, Canadians rejected it, as they well should have. You have the prairie provinces, and I can speak about this because I live in Alberta, who are really resistant to the Liberals, for the most part, always have been. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't Liberals in Alberta. Of course there are. And of course there's some in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. But overall, you have a kind of a real liberal or a real conservative stronghold in this part of the country. But I think even for some conservatives, Scheer was just a step too far. So one of the things that they figured out is, you know what, we need to be a little bit more benign. We need to be a little bit more neutral. We can stand up for what we believe and what we think our our supporters think and how they believe. We can listen to that, but we cannot go to the extreme. Canadians are very much middle of the road. They don't like it when their politics are really like a teeter-totter, right, where they're on complete opposite ends of the spectrum. We're much happier when they're kind of closer towards center. And Peter MacKay looks as if he is going to have the ability to help bring that about. Now, if this is not going to be a cakewalk for him, it doesn't look like. It looks like he's going to have to, get out there and sell himself and convince people that this is the right leader for the Conservative Party. I can tell you, though, that once he is in, it is going to make the Liberal government be able to function a little bit more smoothly, because the energy coming off of MacKay is not that really rigid, I'm fighting you because you're liberal attitude. It is more of all right, let's figure out how to compromise. Let's figure out how to work together. Let's not make a situation that is already on tender ground. Let's not make it worse. It's not necessary. So I actually think that under MacKay, you actually may see, it's not like the Conservatives are going to, throw a party for the Liberals and say you're amazing and you're wonderful. But I can definitely see where there's just going to be a little bit more cohesion and not quite so much stress, not quite so much friction. Okay, so the Conservatives just overall learned a really, really valuable lesson. Again, they learned that when you really try to push too hard in a direction that the average Canadian does not agree with, you're going to get pushback. And that is exactly what happened during the last election. And the other side of it was that the Liberal government had sort of had majority power for 4 years, and it was time to clip their wings a little bit. But if you rise above the situation and kind of look at it calmly, you will understand that this was really, really a good thing for Canada. It really is helping to bring Canada back into more of a cooperative alignment. So I think there doesn't need to be any ridiculous concern. Everybody should just kind of relax, take a few deep breaths. Things are sort of going along and manifesting and playing out pretty much exactly as they should be and need to be. This country is not one that does well when there is a lot of opposition. And honestly, that whole Wexit thing that was going on right after the election where, Alberta was bound and determined to just leave the country, that kind of thing doesn't sit well with Canadians. And so there really needs to be more of a coming to the center. And I feel that is sort of the direction we are going in. Not everybody is going to get everything they want, but it feels very much as if we're really sort of pushing back against that sort of tribalism. Okay, so Sorry about the sound. I know that it probably sounds tinnier than the other microphone I'm using, but that one has just had a technical glitch this morning. And I really wanted to get this video done, and the one that is coming out next, which is about about United States politics. So for now, take care, be well, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Oh, and for those people who are celebrating Canada Day, BC and somewhere else, I think, celebrates it on the 10th of February, the 17th, kind of the rest of the country that celebrates it then. Have a happy Canada Day. A happy Family Day. Enjoy the day. Spend some time with friends and family, or spend some time snuggled in on your couch under a blanket reading a book. Whatever works for you, enjoy the day. Take care now. Bye-bye.